If you sell any business services, I really want you to listen up and pay attention to my $25 million mistake. There are essentially two ways to sell business services. This is anything like an agency service, coaching, or consulting. The first way is the one that I try and focus on scaling and the one that I recommend all of you focus on as well. But the reality is most of you won't do this right away. And that is productized services. So even though we're not gonna spend today talking about productized services, you should know that this is an offer where you can say, pay me this amount and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. It has a well-defined scope and a well-defined price. A good example of a productized offer is my cold email build-out offer. You pay our team $10,000, we'll come in and we'll install X, Y, and Z for your cold email system. You can handle way more clients and you can get a more predictable result for those clients. And the reason for that is you can actually train a team on how to execute that productized services so that you're getting the same result each and every time. However, most business owners do not have an offer like this right away. And even when they do launch something like this, customers are always asking for something outside of that scope. And it's not just you. I still do this to this day. If somebody asks me for help, they need help building a GHL automation, a website, something custom, it's really hard to say no to money. So you'll make up a price and you'll take their money and you'll hope that you can figure it out. Well, after making tens of millions of dollars in the agency and the consulting space, I've finally cracked the code on the right way to do this. So if you've ever offered custom or bespoke services, whether you've done it in the past, you plan on doing it in the future, and that is all of you who run any kind of agency or consulting service, in this video, I'm gonna be walking you through step-by-step the exact system that I have dialed in over the years so that you can install the same system in your own business, make more money with these custom bespoke services, and actually scale it while reducing all of your risk of disputes, scope creep, and all of the other horrible problems that come along with offering these services. So now I'm going to share my screen and walk you through each step of this system. Right now I want to walk you through the two types of offers and what they actually look like in practice. And by the way, the reason I'm making this video is I had to go and create this process for my team. I've been saying, no, we're not doing anything custom. If it doesn't fit our productized offer, we're not doing it. Just say no. But eventually we started getting so many requests and I would let my team take them. I would be handing them off to members of my team to handle them independently that I just said, screw it. We're going to figure out a process and start taking those custom requests. And now I'm going to be walking you through what that actually looks like. So this is a page on my website where people can go and learn about these custom bespoke offers. If you need help building an N8n automation or a Go High Level automation, a website, whatever it might be, you can come to leadgenj.com install and you can watch basically me walking through the process, which I'm going to be walking you through today. But the most important thing here is that you follow the stepwise process. And the stepwise process is outlined here. And this is what I want you to copy and install into your company. And you can steal my forms, you can steal my contracts, everything that I'm gonna be walking you through, I'm gonna show you how to get absolutely free. So step one, it all starts with that custom request form. A lot of times the clients don't even know what they want, and they need a way for them to contextualize all of it, get all their thoughts together, and put together a request for our team to review. So on this page, we're gonna scroll down and you'll see a form here. Now there's a lot of different form applications that you could use. If you're doing it all in GHL, you could use GHL forms. This is just a Jot form because I like to do a lot of custom stuff. And honestly, simplicity is better. If you have a form software you like or want to just use GHL, that'll work just fine. But the questions I'm asking are the most important thing that I want to review with you and for you to look at in this video. Obviously their name, website, location. I like to ask location here because I'm really specific about the types of clients that I work with. And I've just had some bad experiences with certain clients from certain locations that I won't talk about today. So the most important question, what do they want to build? What are they expecting out of this offer? So I've got a couple options for them. N8n automation, high level CRM build out. These are my most commonly requested items, probably because of the content that I do the most that's not productized. If they need a website funnel or other seems to be the most popular option where they can type in exactly what they want. What is their level of experience with the software? So if they're asking for an N8n automation and they're a beginner at N8n and they're asking for something complex, that's something that I want to know about. If they're asking for a CRM build out, and they're a beginner with Go High Level CRM, that's something that I need to know as I'm putting together this quote, because it's going to mean a lot more hand-holding and a lot more explanation. Will they require ongoing support after completion? So a lot of clients, you get done with the scope, you install everything, it all works, you hand it off to them, and then they have no idea how to use it. They've got a lot of questions. So a lot of times we'll build this into our offer. Is there a retention offer? Is it 3-6 months of support? This combined with the level of experience is really important information for me to know as I'm developing the offer. How soon do they want to start? This is mostly for the sales team. And then finally, the project scope. I want to know everything that they want to build to see if it's within our wheelhouse. If they need a simple N8n automation build out, great. If they need custom coding and a software developer involved and it's not something that my team can handle, I need to know that. So I need to go through the scope and see if it's something that we can actually do. Make sure that you ask as many questions as possible about the scope. I left it relatively open-ended, but if you want to get more detailed about the information that you need from the client, ask here. Next, budget range. So a lot of times you're going to be dealing with clients that have huge expectations and a tiny little budget. It's important for you to know about that here. If they write paragraphs and 1,000 bullet points for their project scope and the things that they want done, and they've got a budget of $500, I want to know that up front, because I'm probably just going to reject that proposal and not move any farther on that. So if they give me a small budget and a giant scope, I'm going to say, hey, it's not in our wheelhouse. We don't want anything to do with this. Good luck. Maybe you go to Fiverr or something. You're not working with my team. So I want to know their budget range and any additional notes. Now, when they submit this form, a couple important things happen. And this really alerts me so that I know what their scope is, what they want done, what their budget is. I get a full picture of who it is that I'm working with, and now I can take the next step and actually see if this is something that I can do. So we use Notion for this. Here's some of the projects that we have in progress right now. And you can use Notion, you can use Airtable, you can use Asana, or just about any project management software. I love Notion because it allows me to make all kinds of cool automations depending on what is happening inside of this table. So important things to note here. I'm going to go ahead and open one of these up. All of the information from their form goes here. And then it essentially follows this stepwise process. So project status is going to be probably new or pending review when it comes in, and I'm going to be the one assigned. I'm always the first one to look at it and to make a decision on, is this something that we want to do or is it not? By the way, we connect that Jot form to this Notion via N8n. And it's actually really simple to do. For the purposes of this video, I'm probably not going to go too deep, but just know that if you want to use different form softwares and different project management softwares, then you are going to need to be able to connect the two via Zapier or Make or N8n. Alternatively, you could just use a Notion form. Notion allows you to basically turn all of your questions into a form, and you can do it in 2 seconds. You can also use a GHL form with a webhook out to Notion, and it makes it really easy to do. So step one is I need to assess this project and figure out if it's a good fit and is it something that my team can handle. I really do not want to be the one executing all of these custom projects anymore. That is not a scalable model. If you're just getting started and you're the one doing all the custom projects, the bespoke offers, then you're not going to have a team assigned. It's just going to be you. However, for things like Go High Level, I have a Go High Level expert that takes on all of these custom projects. If it's an N8n automation, it's going to be my N8n guy. Now, the most important thing is that I am guaranteeing that this gets done. So because I'm guaranteeing it, and I'm going to be at risk if a client decides to file a dispute or they hit an impasse with the person who's doing the install, where the customer has scope creep and they just keep asking for more and more and more. And my contractor, who I'm paying to get this done, is like, I can't do this. They're way out of scope. I'm going to need more money, but we can't ask the client for more money because they already paid. And then you just end up in a really bad position. And by the way, scope creep is real, whether it's your contractor or team or whether it's you. And if you're not familiar with the concept of scope creep, this is when you come to an agreement with the client. Say they want a CRM build out and you don't talk about any of the details. They pay you $2,000 for the build out. You put together a few simple GHL, normal business automations, onboarding processes, nurture processes, cancel processes. Put together one landing page. You deliver it to the client and say, cool, we're done. The client says, no, we are not done. You have this automation to build, this automation to build. Go figure it out. Now we have to do this funnel, this funnel, this funnel, this page. We got to get all our staff in here. We've got ongoing questions, and you have no contract, no agreement with that client because you're new and you made all of these mistakes for your first time and you clearly didn't watch this video. You're stuck at a really bad position. because now the client's unhappy, they want a refund. You've basically got no recourse because they're going to file a dispute. You don't have a contract. You don't have anything to point to and say, look, this is what we agreed on. This is done. Where the contract is complete. So before you ever start a project with a client, you need to make sure you have a well-defined scope and an agreement in place. So that's what this stage is all about. The first thing is I'm going to review this project. I'm going to go through their notes, their scope, their budget. I'm going to see if it's within our wheelhouse. I've got this AI step as well. So as you can see from this automation, it actually runs through this project AI and figures out if it's a good or bad fit for us, puts it into Notion, and then updates them inside of GHL. For all of my AI automations, you need to join our AI Automation Insiders, and you'll be able to access these for free. Now, from this Notion table, I can say, okay, cool. Let's request a call is going to be my next step, because once they've given me their scope, their budget, and I say it seems like a good enough fit, I'm going to assign the right person and I'm going to change it to request call. And what that's going to do is trigger an automation for whoever is assigned to actually get on a call with that person and even further refine the scope. This is the most important thing. Talking to them on the phone or on a Zoom call and saying, this is exactly what you want done. This is what we're going to do. And then from there, we can define the actual budget, the actual final rate. But we need to get the scope locked in, absolutely locked in, dialed in. So before we put it into a formal agreement, we're going to have the scope done. Terry is going to tell me, just talk to this person. Here's the scope. Here's the bullet points, or here's the document. And then once they give me those bullet points and the client agrees to those bullet points, we're going to put them back into this Notion database, upload project details, or you can do the project scope here. And then once I change it to contract pending, it actually triggers another automation. And that automation is going to basically get the document or get the scope, turn it into an agreement, and then put that agreement back into GHL. This is the scope agreement, the payment terms, as custom fields. And now I can use these custom fields to generate a contract. You don't have to do all of these automated steps. I just love N8n, so if I can make it automated, I will. Most important thing for you is to follow the steps. So just so far, the steps. Let's go back to this Google document. They're gonna give me their form. I'm gonna review it, decide if it's a good fit or not. If it's a good fit, we're gonna do a project scope call. That's where the customer talks to either you or the technician who's going to be doing the build out. They're going to clarify the scope and the expectations. Once that's done, I can talk to Terry or whoever's doing the install, or if it's just me, I can take that scope and the expectations, I can put together a realistic timeline and final price. Once we come to an agreement on that final scope and the final price, now we can make it official, which is the payment and agreement. I will send the client custom invoice and then the agreement. Now, really important here, a lot of times these prices can get pretty high. So I always like to give the client the ability to pay with ACH or absorb the fee. So there's a lot of different ways to do this nowadays. You can use fan basis, you can use WAP. We're using a tool called Hyphen. So let me actually show you what this looks like. So I highly recommend doing this, especially if you've got these high ticket custom offers, is forcing them to absorb the credit card fee or pay ACH. The goal with that is to really push them into ACH. You'll have much less problems with your clients if they pay with an ACH account. If they pay with credit card, you've got a good chance, especially when you're just getting started, of them holding all of the power and you're at risk of disputes. So use something where you can either pass that credit card fee onto your client or they can pay with ACH, and things are going to be kind of much easier going forward. Once the payment is done, you're always going to collect payment in full unless you've broken the project out into different steps. Sometimes when you're putting together the scope, you want to break it down into, okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You're going to pay 10 grand for phase 1. Once that's done, I'm going to automatically charge you for phase 2. Once that's automatically done, we're going to charge you for phase 3. Make sure that you have a payment on file so that you can do that as the phases are completed. The next thing you're going to do is send an agreement. So we use Go High Level for all of our agreements. And now I can basically automate sending those agreements to the client because I've got their scope, I've got a template agreement that I use for these custom projects, and I've got N8n that can take the scope and write out the custom fields for the agreement, the scope, and the payment terms. I just shoot that right back into GHL, and then here we are. This is kind of the automation that sends them that custom agreement. So once they're tagged custom terms, the automation will actually send the custom project agreement directly to that client. and then it's going to send them an email letting them know that that's been sent. Now, because we've updated those custom project terms, the scope and the payment terms, those are actually built in to that custom agreement as custom fields. So it's going to automatically insert them into the agreement for that client so that they can sign it. And if you're not familiar with GHL, what you're going to do in order to enable this is create a custom, I'm in payments, I'm in documents, templates. And this is essentially that custom project agreement. It is just a template contract. And what you see here is this scope of work has this custom terms under scope of work and custom payment terms under payment terms. That way, when I insert those custom fields into GHL, it replaces this with their specific terms and their specific payment terms. And it sends it for their signature. Just by having this on file, we're good. Now they've agreed to the terms, they've agreed to the payment terms. So if scope creep occurs, you can just point to this agreement and say, look, this was not in the original agreement, it's not in the original price, this is outside of scope, and we're going to have to charge you a little bit more to do that. And then it becomes a much more reasonable request. Once you have the payment, we do payment first, and the agreement, we do agreement second, then we can actually get to work on the project. If it's a giant project, I recommend breaking it out into phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, put it in the scope and make payment determined off of which phase is done. You can track the progress of all of these custom build-outs using a Notion database or Airtable or Trello. It really doesn't matter. So that when a project is done, you can just change it to complete. And a lot of these are custom. You're working directly with the clients to send and receive information from them via email. So you can't automate every step of this. And in fact, I don't even recommend doing that. So now for those of you that are interested, I am going to break down the technical aspects of this a little bit more. The N8n automations, the Notion database automations, and the GHL automations that go into building something like this and making it work. The core principle you've got. You follow these 5 steps, and when you deliver a project, now you're good because you've got the payment, you've got the agreement signed, there's not going to be any issues. So now I want to break down, if you are interested in doing a more automated setup and setting up a lot of the technical stuff that I have here, how do you actually do that? Well, let's start with the first automation, which is the jot form in this first step, the form submission that they fill out, and this N8n automation. And by the way, you can do this inside of Zapier or Make.com. It really doesn't matter. So the trigger is obviously going to be this jot form submission. And you're going to have all of the information that they give us to run through the AI and decide if it's going to be a good fit or not. So this project AI is an AI agent that has access to all of the jot form ideas. What the overall goal is to decide if it's a good project, true or false, the overall assessment of the project, a suggested quote, what it thinks we should charge, a project title, we're going to be using that in Notion, and a project type. I want it to classify that project type so I can feed it back into Notion. And the things that it's looking for here is how realistic are their expectations and scopes? Do they understand what they want? Does it fall within our scope of expertise? If they mention a specific automation, that's a green flag that it's within our scope. By the way, it has some additional information about my company and our scope up here. Does this budget make sense for what they're asking for? Use the best judgment for a US company, and then based on their website and location, can they afford high ticket services? So it's really just taking everything that they submitted with that system prompt and deciding good project, true or false. Assessment, which is going to be its overall overview of the project. Suggested price for this, a title for that project, and a project type. From there, we want to create a database page. This is moving it over to Notion with all of the information that we just provided. Now, before you can do that, you need to set up the Notion database the way that you want it. So you can clone mine if you'd like. I can make you a little template here just so you can clone it and get your own thing going. But essentially, you need to set up the properties first. So coming in to this Notion database, you're going to come into Properties, Edit Properties, and from here you can just add new properties as you want. You want to make sure that whatever you're asking in your jot form, there's a property for it inside of Notion. This way you can easily access all of that information. And now all of these should be generated automatically. The project status from this first step, let's go ahead and open up, create a database page in Notion. You'll see we're going to choose from the list, we're going to title it, and then we're going to put all of our fields in coordination with the fields in the jot form. And every project is going to start off on pending review because the first step is for me to come look at it. And I've got lots of automations set up here so that when something happens, I know about it. So new request. This is the first automation that fires. This is a new project, hits my Notion database. What happens from there? By the way, I can do a lot of this same stuff in N8n, but if I can do it in Notion, I usually tend to do it in Notion. So any page is added, it sends me an email with a new project request, basically telling me, hey, go look at this project and go decide if it's something we can do or not. It also sets the date submitted to time triggered. I like to do this in Notion as well. Anytime something happens, use that as a trigger to set the dates. If it's completed, use that as the trigger to set the dates. So that's automation 1. Automation 2 is I set this to request call. These two automations essentially do the same thing. So if project status is set to request call and Terry is the one assigned, it's going to send Terry and the client an email saying, hey, go ahead, schedule a call, go over the scope, and let me know what the decided scope is afterwards to see if it's something that we can do, and let us basically use that scope to come up with a price. So each of these is essentially the same, just talking to different people about slightly different things. By the way, when I assign somebody to this is an additional automation. So when team assigned is edited, it actually emails them saying, hey, great news. We've got a new project that I think is a great fit for you. Go ahead and review this project and you'll get additional information. Just sends them some info on what to do next. Now we give it a couple days. Those two talk, Terry and the client, and they come up with the agreed upon scope. And now I can talk to Terry and say, okay, this is what they want done. We've already come to this price agreement. Great. From there, we need to send the custom agreement and payment. And that's somewhat of a manual process. We will manually create a payment request for them and send them the link. Once they pay, the next step is for us to generate the agreement. Generating the agreement, as I kind of walked you through earlier, we want the scope, and you can also upload the scope here, upload the project details, and then I actually automated the part where I can send custom agreement. So that automation that you saw earlier, where it goes through the scope and creates those custom fields in GHL. When the project status is set to paid contract pending, it triggers that webhook, sends all of the properties. And that is what triggers this automation here. So what this one does, let's see the most recent run. It's going to get the uploaded document, extract the data from that uploaded document, and then run it through an AI agent and come up with the specific scope and payment terms. Those are then going to be added into GHL as custom fields. Those custom fields are going to be used for that GHL contract, which is going to be sent automatically. As you can see, we've got custom terms, custom payment terms. These are just custom fields. We're also going to set their account manager email as the person who I assigned, as well as their name. So we've got Terry here. And we're going to use the trigger for that GHL automation as tagging them custom terms. So they're automatically going to be added to that custom terms GHL automation that we showed you earlier. Now I'm also going to be sharing a template to this agreement if you want it. That way you can kind of just copy it and plug your own stuff in. But what's most important here is that you're able to get all of that custom stuff into this agreement without you having to go write an original agreement each time. Now what I'd recommend that you do is just use AI to customize this thing to your business specs. If you just copy my entire agreement word for word, you're probably going to miss a lot of important stuff that if you do get hit with a dispute or a lawsuit, it is not going to make sense for you. So use AI, customize this agreement, and it'll make life a lot easier. So now this automation gets triggered. It sends them that template contract with their unique terms because now they're custom fields. It sends them an email reminder just saying, hey, just sent over an agreement. Let me know if you don't get it. It's going to tag them and remove the trigger tag in case they come through this automation again. But there is a secondary automation that we've built out because I also want to know when they've actually signed the agreement so that my team knows to go ahead and get started. It's triggered when this custom project agreement status is changed to completed, meaning they've signed it. It then adds a tag, finds that database item inside of Notion, updates it, and I could do all of this in N8n as well. But the final step is it actually emails the client and their account manager, the one who's going to be doing that build out. Thank you for signing. You're good to go ahead and get started. From there, everything is cake. You go ahead and get the project done. You deliver the project and you've already got the payment. You've already got the agreement signed. Everything else from there is easy peasy. So go ahead and copy and install this entire system into your business. And I promise you, you're going to reduce a lot of problems with these bespoke services. You're going to make a lot more money. It's going to be infinitely more scalable. So I hope this was helpful. If you did find content like this helpful, which isn't necessarily cold email or lead gen, but more business operations and scaling, I'd love to know about it inside of the comments. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.